give the judges another shot at it? Forget about the fighters. I don't want to give the judges another shot at it. How's that?
This wasn't just about one fight. It pointed to a pattern that has haunted boxing for decades: the A-side bias. It's the unspoken rule that the more famous, more marketable fighter usually gets the benefit of the doubt from the judges. And nobody embodied the A-side better than Canelo Alvarez, with his massive fan base and lucrative promotional deals. He was the cash cow, the golden goose. According to Teddy Atlas, that status comes with a dangerous advantage. Judges, whether consciously or not, lean toward the fighter promoters want to keep on top. In a close fight, that knowledge can sway the outcome. And Atlas viewed the Crawford scorecards as another glaring example. Even in a bout that wasn't close, the numbers suggested an effort to keep the A-side alive and protect the brand.
I'm with Canelo. I think I'm happy with Cheatham. But if I'm with Crawford, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, wait a minute. Hold on. This guy had he had Canelo over Bebo.
No,
he had Bebo over Canelo. That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. He had it that close. How he had
115, 113. Now listen, there's another judge on this card who will be officiating this fight, Crawford versus Canelo, Steve Weisfeld, who also scored at 115, 113. I've more singled out Tim Cheatham because of the inconsistency.
Because of his past record.
Yeah, I didn't think Loma lost to Haney. That was one of them. I just talked about the Zoo versus Fandora, number 1. That one, unbelievable. Richardson Hitchens versus Lemos, way too wide. Just recently, we watched a great fight. Figueroa versus Joet Gonzalez. Way too wide for Figueroa. There's been too many examples.
Teddy Atlas didn't mince words when it came to the Crawford-Canelo fight, singling out Judge Tim Cheatham as a danger sign long before the opening bell, pointing to his history of questionable scorecards like the 115-113 tally he gave Canelo against Bivol in a fight most agreed wasn't close. To Atlas, Cheatham represented the broader problem of A-side bias, where the star fighter with the money machine behind him often gets the benefit of the doubt. And when the Crawford-Canelo cards came in at 116, 112, and 2 115-113s, Atlas's frustration boiled over. Not because Crawford hadn't dominated, he had, but because even a masterclass performance nearly got clouded by numbers that felt like they were protecting the brand, rather than honoring the truth inside the ring.
The thing that bothered me, there's only one thing that really did bother me, and that's why I don't want a rematch, I'll be honest. I've been in this business 50 years, too long to fool myself. Those judges should be really, they got to look in the mirror to have it that close. There's no way it was that close. Thank God he dominated. Because otherwise we might be here talking a whole different thing and really going nuts. And I would definitely break this thing.
Yes, you would. I believe you.
And maybe that. And I'd owe money. And I don't care. I would pay it. But at the end of the day, that's why I don't want to see it again. He dominated, and the judges had it that close.
Yeah.
Give the judges another shot at it. Forget about the fighters. I don't want to give the judges another shot at it.
Atlas wasn't the only one outraged by the scorecards. Former NFL star and outspoken sports voice Chad Ochocinco echoed the same disbelief, stunned that the numbers didn't match the one-sided fight everyone had just seen. On his show, he didn't hold back. There's no way you thought that fight was that close. For him, it was pure dominance. Bud landed the cleaner shots. The harder shots stayed active and controlled the entire ring. Ochocinco, like Atlas, couldn't understand how the official margin suggested anything but a lopsided victory. He even broke it down, insisting Crawford clearly won at least 9 or 10 rounds, saying at worst Bud might have lost 3, maybe even just 2. To him and to many seasoned insiders, the verdict was obvious. The judges' scores weren't just off, they were fiction, and a glaring warning sign that boxing's credibility was once again under attack.
It was a great display of boxing, and had Bud not made it so convincing, there's no way, ain't no way to judge, because I don't give a damn what they say. And no, I've never been a judge, I've never judged the fight officially, but that's not a 115, 113, that's not a 116, 12. If you watch that fight, there is no way you thought that those scores were that close Bud dominated that fight. I'm talking about dominated. He landed cleaner shots. He landed the harder shots. He was active. Yeah, okay. So he followed him around the ring. Yeah, he was pressuring him. But guess what? Every time he come in there, he got slapped.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I really, really enjoy it. When it comes to boxing, when it comes to the sweet science, for those who know the game, who know the sport, and are not just casual fans of it, when it's done the right way, it's like art. It's like a puzzle. All you're doing is putting the pieces together. Whatever he does, I got something for that. Whatever you do, if he has something for that, you come back with something else. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when it's done the right way, and I really thoroughly enjoyed tonight's fight.
Bud won at least 9 to 10 of those rounds. Bud won 9 to 10 of those rounds. There's no way in hell, if you watched that fight, you thought Canelo won as many rounds as
Sutherland and Cheatham, they would be the first guys called into the office on Monday if a national czar came in and said, I'm going to start investigating this sport. I'm starting to look at the things that Teddy Atlas talked about and a lot of other people talked about. I'm going to start, and that a lot of fans talk about, that they're leaving the sport because of the bad judging and officiating. I'm going to start to look at it. And the two guys I would say to you, sir, whoever you are, I would say, sir, it might be a good place to start with a guy named Sutherland and a guy named, yes, sir, I'm not making this name up. What is the name, Teddy? Cheatham. I had people winning 11 rounds. All right, even if you said 10, you'd be kind of generous. But to have it that close, I mean, come on. And then the other fights you talked about, I mean, he's got a track record where the problem with him isn't just that he's so off and the numbers are so off. They're off for always the A fighter. That's the thing that puts a light on in my mind, that puts a danger light on, is that he's always, Canelo's the A guy always, right? We know that. We don't have to dispute that. So it's not like he's on the side of the B guy. He's always on the side of the guy that the promoter would want to win. That's what...
The issue, according to Teddy Atlas, goes far beyond a single judge. It's the entire system that's broken. In Las Vegas, boxing's so-called capital, the same small circle of judges controls nearly every major fight, creating what Atlas calls an exclusive club with no rotation and no fresh oversight. This closed setup allows familiarity to blur fairness, as promoters, commissions, and judges all move in the same circles, building relationships that compromise objectivity. Atlas argues that accountability and rotating panels are the only way to restore integrity, ensuring no one official holds too much sway. But with the sport so heavily driven by money and politics, those reforms remain distant, leaving fighters and fans to pay the price of a system stacked against transparency.
If you got the same officials all the time, which we're talking about, you do. I mean, just look, every time there's a big fight, you got the same guys for the most part. And again, I think that you can help a lot by rotating and getting new blood in there. And also geographically looking and saying, don't keep putting every time you put a fight in Vegas, don't put the same guys from there. Bring in guys from different locales. Mix it up a little bit, because you have these promoters that have a relationship and a familiarity where the judges are more prone to go towards them. Why? Why, Teddy? Why? Because they go out to dinner with them, they give money under the table. They do go out to dinner. I'm not saying they give money under the table. I'm not saying that. But they know that those are the guys that butter their bread.
Teddy Atlas explains that Terence Crawford's victory came not just from talent, but from a rare blend of mental strength and resilience that sets him apart. He describes Crawford as digital, a fighter who functions like a supercomputer, constantly analyzing, processing, and exploiting openings with surgical precision, while others rely more on physical ability. What truly fuels this edge, however, is Crawford's life experience. Years ago, he survived being shot, A moment that could have broken most men, but instead forged his unshakable toughness. For Crawford, nothing inside the ring could ever match that danger. And that mindset gave him the calm, the composure, and the ice-cold focus to dismantle Canelo under the brightest lights.
Terence Crawford. They tried to ruin his reputation and say that he wasn't a draw when the numbers were there for you to see. When he went to MSG against guys that didn't have big names or that were faded, like Amir Khan, or when he fought Kavyaskis, he did numbers. It was a smear campaign about his personality. He doesn't talk. Nobody wants to hear him. No, that you don't want to hear him. So you try to speak for the masses when the whole time you have a star right here. You got to learn how to talk to this man. Even as recent as his last fight, the fight before Canelo, the smear campaign continued. I don't hear the smear campaign now. Them voices got really, really quiet like they typically do when they get proven wrong. And they either try to jump on the wagon, I knew this kid was going to be that, or they get very, very quiet and they start to retreat back to wherever they came from and they don't have a lot to say. So I'm happy for this brother for that reason, because they tried to bury him, Roy. It didn't work. He overcame that. He said, give me my shot. I'm going to show you. And he kept doing it time and time again, and he did it again against Canelo Alvarez Saturday.
Teddy Atlas argues that Canelo Alvarez wasn't just beaten, he was mentally broken. Crawford outboxed him, outsmarted him, and stripped away his will to fight, to the point where Atlas believes that if Bud had applied even more pressure late, Canelo might have quit on his stool. For a fighter long seen as the face of boxing, this was more than a loss. It was a dent in his legacy that raises tough questions about how he'll be remembered. Will fans look back on him as an all-time great, or will this defeat, coupled with the controversial scorecards, cast a permanent shadow? Atlas calls it a dent, but the implications run deeper. It reflects the soul of boxing itself. The razor-thin scoring in a fight Crawford dominated signals a troubling truth. Corruption and greed are eroding the sport's integrity. Fans are left wondering if what they see in the ring can still be trusted, or if boxing has slid too far into spectacle over sport. The answer to that question may decide the future of boxing.